Hello, everyone, and welcome to the webinar, What's New in Ext JS 7.9 and Rapid Ext JS version 1.1. My name is Mark Guzmano. I am a sales engineer at Sencha, and I'm looking forward to walking you through all the new features and capabilities of the latest Ext JS release, as well as our latest release of our visual design tool, Rapid Ext JS. Just a few reminders, this webinar will be recorded, so feel free to share this with your colleagues if need be. And we will also have a question and answer session at the end of my prepared materials. Feel free to type in any questions you have into the questions panel of the GoToWebinar control panel. And we'll get right to them after we get through with my discussion of what's new, along with some demonstrations. So what are we going to talk about? Well, I'm going to introduce you to the places where you can find information on the latest version of Ext JS, the version 7.9. I'll also, at a high level, go through what is new and some of the features and capabilities. And then, as I said, we're going to look specifically at Rapid Ext JS 1.1, which, among other things, was upgraded to support Ext JS 7.9. There are some nice enhancements, including the ability to migrate a Sencha architect project if you want to bring that project over to Rapid Ext JS, and a few other things. So we'll go through that. We'll also talk about the upgrades that we did in our React library, Ext. We've also increased that version number to 1.1. The biggest thing is it also now supports Ext JS 7.9, so we're keeping up with the latest versions of the Ext JS library. We'll look at some of the enhancements in the tooling, some things around Sencha command, some things that will allow you to use the latest versions of things like Node, etc. And then remind you of some of the resources that are available to you with the Sencha community. And as I said, we'll get to our question and answer session right after we're done. So let's go ahead and get started by looking at what is available for you from a blog point of view. We just recently put out a blog about Ext JS 7.9, and if you go to the Sencha.com homepage, it's real easy to find that blog because it's right up here at the header. So if you click on that, or if you go to our blogs, you can go ahead and read the blog entry for 7.9 Rapid Ext JS 1.1. What's nice about this blog is that it not only describes some of the new capabilities, but there are a few videos that walk you through exactly what the new capabilities are. For example, with Rapid Ext JS 1.1, you can migrate, as I mentioned, your application from Sencha Architect to Rapid Ext JS, and there's a little bit of a video to show you that. I'm also going to show you that just to give you an idea of how you do that. Rapid Ext JS also has now the ability to manage an environment where you might have multiple projects in a Visual Studio Code environment, and making sure that you can activate which particular project is enabled for Rapid Ext JS, and again, a video to describe all that. We'll look at how you can now use the IntelliSense plugin that we've had for a while for Ext JS, as well as Rapid Ext JS at the same time. So again, a video that will describe that. And then we'll go through some of the improvements that the blog does describe. So feel free to go ahead and read that. It's real easy to get to it from the homepage. That'll give you kind of a good overview. We're pretty much going to go through that overview here, so you'll get a good flavor for that during the course of this webinar. So the first thing I want to go through is just some of the things that are in the newest release of 7.9. I would say that a lot of these things fall under the category of a quality release. We call a quality release a release where we take some of the more important bug fixes we need to do and make sure that things are working correctly. And we certainly realize that things like our grid are one of our most important and one of your most important components that we have. So one of the first categories that I'll discuss is some of the grid enhancements that we've done, both to the modern toolkit and to the classic toolkit. So there were a handful of things involving scrolling, resizing, multi-selection, and all of those things we have addressed in this particular version, 7.9, and really that it gives you just that more enhanced user experience as your users are using the grid. Probably the best way to see the grid and what its capabilities are is to go over to the examples page, which is examples.sentient.com, and go over to the kitchen sink, either to the modern toolkit or the classic toolkit, whichever you may be using. And grids is one of the major categories of the 7.9 kitchen sink. So all of the features which are addressed in this release are available as examples within the 7.9 kitchen sink. So that'd be the place I would go to take a look at those. We also have had some improvements in stability, addressing some stability issues with other components within 7.9. There were some issues with filtering within a ComboBox that have been addressed. There are a few issues for the calendar component. There were some display issues for events. Some of the filtering was fine-tuned. There were some time zone things that were addressed. So again, just quality improvements to make Ext JS even better. There were a few things on tabs that were also addressed. All of these things are defined in the documentation. So if you go over to docs.sentient.com and head over to the Getting Started page, just like with every release, now that 7.9 is available, that is the default that comes up, but you always have all other releases available to you off of this menu. So if you are still on 7.7, for example, you could click over to here. But in 7.9, if you wanted to know what's new, again, we always provide a what's new section for each new version. And in 7.9, some of the things I'm talking about are described here. Some of the grid enhancements, some of the stability issues with ComboBox, calendar, and tabs. We'll talk about some of these other capabilities, but this is a good place to go to understand what's new at a little bit more detailed level. There is also a set of release notes. So had you as a customer put in a support ticket and you're wondering if your support ticket, which turned into a JIRA ticket, was addressed, by JIRA ticket number, we specify what was addressed in 7.9. And we categorize it by core, modern, classic, and tooling. So we're going to look at these specifically, but if you really want to get to the details of what we've done, then this is a place to go. And then there's always this upgrade guide that'll give you the differences and the things that we've done between 7.8 and 7.9. So if you wanted to know, let's say you were on 7.5 and you wanted to get that cumulative list of what's new all the way up to 7.9, you would want to go to the what's new of each of those sections. And then you would understand kind of what the differences are. We'll talk a little bit about upgrades a little bit. We do have a tool, and we've enhanced that tool for 7.9 as well, the Upgrade Advisor. So we will get to that tool to describe how you acquire that should you want to move up to the latest version of Ext JS. Another thing that we addressed in 7.9 is some localization issues. Admittedly, some of these things will only be important for certain people if you're building international applications, or if you happen to be writing Japanese localized applications. We made some specific improvements to translations for the Japanese language. There were also some performance issues we addressed that are now in the 7.9 version. And there were some issues with handling the conversion between daylight savings time and date handling in general. I guess you could call that a localization issue, but we addressed those things as well. So again, a lot of really great improvements for stability and localization in this release. On the tooling side, we've addressed a few things that have been a little bit challenging, especially in Sencha Command. Sencha Command, of course, now supports the new 7.9 version. There were some path detection issues in Linux that were covered. Probably the biggest one, though, is the fact that with Node and its increasing versions, there were some issues in running Sencha Command with Node version 20, which is the latest long-term support version. So that's all solved, so you can upgrade to that version of Node and things will work as you expect them to work. Sencha Command is also the underpinnings of tools like Ext, which is our NPM-based tool. And so Ext has been upgraded to 7.9, and then Rapid Ext JS, which is our visual design tool that I'm going to talk about in a minute. Under the covers uses Ext, which also uses Sencha Command. So the entire suite of our tooling is now available and supporting the latest version of Ext JS. So let's move on to Rapid Ext JS. This is a little bit easier to demonstrate. It's a visual tool. It came out as a 1.0 release in the last version. Now we're moving to 1.1. There have been performance improvements. There have been some compatibility improvements. We now can run the Rapid Ext JS 1.1 Visual Studio Code plugin and the IntelliSense plugin that we've had for a while side by side. We've addressed some issues when you have a Visual Studio Code multi-project scenario so that everything works as expected. And probably one of the bigger things we've done, this slide actually addresses the IntelliSense plugin that I mentioned, which is a big thing in and of itself, but probably the biggest thing we've done with Rapid Ext JS is to support migrations from Sencha Architect to Rapid Ext JS. And actually, that's one thing I'd like to do a bit of a demonstration on. So what I'm going to do here is bring up, and I already have up in Sencha Architect, a project. This is the latest version of Sencha Architect. And what I did is I just created a project from one of the templates that's available in Sencha Architect. And as you can see, if you haven't used Architect before, it's a visual drag and drop tool. I have a component toolbox on the right-hand side. All of the views and other objects that I've created are all available here. And this is running within the Sencha Architect editor environment. So one of the things that is evolving is that Sencha Architect and its capabilities are slowly becoming the capabilities of Rapid Ext JS. So much so that there's probably a little bit of a, which tool do I use? And so one of the things we also have done is written a blog to help you understand what Sencha Architect is, what Rapid Ext JS is, how do they compare, how are they different, basically giving you a foundation upon which you can decide which one is right for your situation. So this blog is also available. It talks about both tools. At a high level, though, one of the biggest challenges of Sencha Architect is that it requires a metadata layer. So as you're doing things within the Architect tool, there's this layer of keeping track of what you're doing. And what that meant was that any time that you wanted to do some editing outside of Sencha Architect and then come back, the metadata would be out of sync. So that proved to be a challenge in certain situations. Rapid Ext JS is built without the need for any metadata. So that's one of the bigger benefits. Sencha Architect is a lot more mature. It's been out for many, many, many years. Rapid Ext JS continues to evolve, so you're going to see a little bit of differences in robustness, but Rapid Ext JS will continue to move forward. We are continuing with both Sencha Architect and Rapid Ext JS, and so your decision, you can confidently make the decision on one or the other. But if you are using Sencha Architect and you would like to move to Rapid Ext JS, now we have an automated way to do that. So let's go ahead and take a look at how you might do that. So what I have here is an empty Visual Studio Code environment. And if I were to look at my environment and look for Rapid Ext JS, you'll notice that I already have installed Rapid Ext JS in the latest version 1.1. If you haven't installed it, or if you would like to know how to install it, one of the ways to do that is to go over to the Sencha support site and go to the download section, and you'll notice all the latest versions of our software are available here. So here's 7.9 of Ext JS. Here are the premium add-ons, Sencha Architect, Sencha Command, and if I scroll down a little bit, here is Rapid Ext JS 1.1. So clicking this download button will download a zip file. You unzip that file, you will get a file with a VSIX extension. That is the extension for Visual Studio Code. And this little ellipse button up here lets you install from a VSIX file. So if you wanted to install the latest version, you could just find your unzipped Rapid Ext JS file and install it here. I've already done that, so you can see it's running here. And the way I know, probably the easiest way I know that Rapid Ext JS is running is this button down here, this new Ext JS app button. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. I've already logged on with my credentials from the support portal. One of the new things with Rapid Ext JS is that it will remember your credentials and your login ID, for example. So if you come back later, or if you clear out your cache and want to reuse a project, you don't have to start from scratch, so that's nice. I've already logged on and I'm ready to go, and I could create a brand new Ext JS project, but I can also open an existing project. So in this particular case, if I go over to my webinars folder here, I clicked a little too quickly. So if I go over to my webinars folder and click on this particular webinar and click on this architect folder, these are 3 architect projects that I've created. The one that I was showing you was the dashboard one. So if I select this project, which is an architect project, and I import, as you can see now, Rapid Ext JS recognizes that I'm trying to convert this application, and what it converts it to is an XGen based application. And XGen is our NPM based tool that uses Sencha Command under the covers to allow you to build projects, to bring in other NPM packages if you want. And so what's going to happen here is that the project will be, a new project will be created and will become an XGen based project that can be used with Rapid Ext JS. So I'm going to say, let's just call this one dashboard new. By default, there is an application path that is created when Rapid Ext JS is installed. You can change that here, but I'm going to go ahead and just run this. And what this is doing right now is it's running a conversion process. It's copying the files that are relevant, that are in the Sencha Architect project. It's creating an Open Tools project. You can see that here. So Open Tools and XGen are one and the same. We kind of generically call them Open Tools, but the specific command that you would run if you were going to do it at the command line is ext-gen or XGen. So this is running, and it's looking for certain things. There are some things that you might have to do manually. For example, here you see that it's not finding Sencha charts, and if that becomes a question, we made sure that in the documentation, we have added a frequently asked questions for Rapid Ext JS. So I'm now in the Rapid Ext JS documentation. So I went to docs.sentia.com. I went to Rapid Ext JS 1.0, and in the frequently asked questions, this is going to be probably one of the bigger ones. If you're using some enterprise components, there's some things you need to do just because of the differences between Sentia Architect and Rapid Ext JS. So along with the frequently asked questions, there is what's new in terms of Rapid Ext JS. So the biggest highlighted what's new is what I'm showing you now, which is the conversion of a Rapid Ext JS project, or a conversion of an Sentia Architect project to Rapid Ext JS. You can also now deal with multiple projects in a workspace. Rapid Ext JS will detect that and will give you the opportunity to select which project is your Rapid Ext JS project. Once you select that, that becomes the project that Rapid Ext JS is working on. While you're working within a multiple project workspace, if you want to shift to a different project and enable Rapid Ext JS on that project will have a right-click menu that says Enable Rapid Ext JS. So it's a lot smoother to be able to use multiple projects within a workspace within Visual Studio Code when one or more of those projects is Rapid Ext JS. As long as I'm here, certainly there are a list of improvements and fixes, and if you want to go through some of these details, you can do it at the what's new level. We also have a set of release notes that point to the Jira tickets that were for Rapid Ext JS. So you have all the information here that you need to know what's new with Rapid Ext JS. Okay, let's go back to the slides and make sure we're covering everything. So we've pretty much covered what's new with Rapid Ext JS. One of the other things, as I mentioned, is you now can install the Sentia IntelliSense plugin and have that plugin also work alongside the Rapid Ext JS environment. So what I mean by that is, if we look back again at the support portal, you'll notice that Rapid Ext JS is here, but then also there is a Sentia Visual Studio Code plugin. So this is the plugin that's been around for a while that provides IntelliSense, that provides the ability to click into the documentation. There's some refactoring support for Ext JS. Really, the two plugins are complementary to each other. And so now you can bring both of those together within the Visual Studio Code environment and use the capabilities of the visual design and drag and drop of Rapid Ext JS and the IntelliSense and tooling and refactoring support for the Visual Studio Code IntelliSense plugin. So that's another thing that's now available. And the latest Visual Studio Code plugin, which is version 1.45, works with the latest version of Rapid Ext JS 1.1. Okay, moving forward, as I mentioned, we also did work to enhance our Rext library. And for those of you who may not be familiar, Rext is our tool to allow you to use the Ext JS components within a React application. So the biggest thing with this release is that we've upgraded Rext so that it supports all the new capabilities, all the new features of the Ext JS 7.9 release. So the way you would take a look at that is you could go over to npm. So npm.com packages and @Sentia Rext is the public-facing version of the Rext component. And you can see here we're now on a 1.1 release. And the biggest thing, as I said, is that this now supports version 7.9. So if we look, for example, at the samples that come with the Rext product, we've rebuilt those samples that so that they now work with version 7.9 and the latest version of React as well, which is version 19. And there we go. So you can see up here, we're using, this is a little component that we just provide with the library that will tell you the version of React that you're using, the version of React, which is version 19, and then also the version of Ext JS, which is version 7.9. So you are now able to take advantage of the latest capabilities of every component we have in a React environment by using Ext 1.1. All right. So to get your application upgraded to version 7.9, just as in previous versions, we provide a free upgrade advisor tool. The version of that tool is 1.9, but the 1.9 version supports all the latest versions of our products. So the 7.9 Ext JS environment is probably the biggest new capability. And if you've ever downloaded Upgrade Advisor is a tool that is available from our private NPM repository. It's a simple install. It's actually an application, and in my case, it's a Mac application running on my Mac. And you'll see here that it now supports 7.9. What's really nice about this is you bring your project into Upgrade Advisor, you tell it what the current version is, all the way back to version 4. You say you want to upgrade to 7.9, you select your project, and then you run this Upgrade Advisor tool, and it will analyze your code to figure out what's different, what's changed. And for those things that it can fix, it will give you the opportunity to actually click a button to say, make the changes that you can make. So very nice way to get started on your upgrade journey. There are times though when it's a little bit overwhelming. It will report on every last thing that it finds. So when you run this, you're going to get a rather voluminous report, but typically you're going to have categories of issues, and those categories are much less of a list than the totality of what you get reported on. And certainly if you do this and you'd like to maybe spend some time with us to understand what the report is actually saying, we'd love to schedule a session with you. Just talk to your salesperson, and we can schedule an opportunity to take a look at the upgrade. The upgrade to 7.9, especially if maybe you're in the version 7, somewhere in the version 7 environment, should be, there should be very few things that have changed. There typically are deprecated methods, and I know in this release we've cleaned up a lot of those deprecations so that they don't become unnecessary warnings. So certainly feel free to go ahead and acquire the Upgrade Advisor, install it, and run it on your application. There have also been upgraded versions of the other tools that we have available. Sencha Themer is a tool to do visual design of a custom Sencha theme that would be applied to an Ext JS application. That's been upgraded to support 7.9. We've already talked about Sencha Architect, the latest version being 4.3.7 with support for 7.9. So absolutely everything in our tooling chain is now available, ready to go, supporting the latest versions. And if you have access to the support portal, is a click away on the downloads page. All right. So how do you get started with 7.9, or maybe you're new to Ext JS in general? You certainly will get access to everything if you download our 30-day free trial. That's available from the Sencha.com site. There are getting started guides that are available that will lead you through the steps. And all of these are available as clickable links to get you directly to the pages. We will make these slides available to you so that you could just click into those. We have a nicely redesigned support center that is your place to go, your one-stop shop to get, information for any sort of learning, white papers, case studies, webinars, videos, blogs. So there's quite a bit of resources here that will help you. There are some really cool getting started tutorials. We have a time tracking application for Ext. There's a lot of getting started capabilities. So I would highly encourage you to look at those things. There's always the kitchen sink examples. We've looked at those examples already. Those are available both for the modern and classic toolkit and all upgraded for 7.9. So anything new will be available, and any details on specifics will be available as source code right from this details pane within the kitchen sink. So there are also Twitter and YouTube channels. The YouTube channel that we have has plenty of upgrades. We are starting to build some what's new with 7.9, but there's a lot of good resources out there, and I encourage you to go take a look at those. We also continue to use the Sencha Discord server. If you are not a member of the Sencha Discord server, again, there's a link here to be able to join it. What's really nice about the Discord server is that MVPs hang out there, other Sencha developers hang out there. We on the Sencha team are out there looking. There are a lot of examples. This is a good place to do collaboration. And it's really become the place where discussion and expertise hangs out from a Sencha, specifically Ext JS environment. So please get on that Discord server if you haven't already done that. Okay, so that's our look at what's new with 7.9. As I said, if you do have any questions, just go ahead and type them into the GoToWebinar control panel under questions. And with that, I will turn it over. Just one quick note, my email address is on this slide here. If you have some specific question that you want to address, or after the session, there was something you forgot to ask, certainly feel free to send me an email or send your salesperson an email, and we will get back to you and be able to answer those. But I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to my colleagues to see if we have any particular questions, and we'll go ahead and answer those.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark. My name is Raj. I'm Marketing Manager, Sencha. Let's move on the Q&A session. If you have any questions, please type them into the chat. We will address as many we can today. All right, here's the first question. Are you ready, Mark?
I am ready.
Awesome. How can Sencha test cases verify the contents of individual grid cell?
How can we test the contents of a grid cell?
Yeah, how can Sencha test cases verify the content of individual grid cell?
Okay, all right. So I think the question is just, probably a general question about testing Ext JS applications. And certainly if you have JavaScript-based tools that you want to use for testing, because Ext JS is a JavaScript environment, you can use those testing tools. We do have a specific product called Sencha Test, which has intelligence and understanding of the Ext JS environment and the components or the controls that are part of things. So if I were to specifically want to do a test that analyzed the contents of a cell in a grid, I probably would take advantage of the Sencha Test environment, because there's this extra layer of understanding how to, first of all, get access to the grid in test mode, and then navigate to a particular cell and interrogate its value. So the short answer would be, I'd look at Sencha Test. Sencha Test is a separate product that's available, and it's also a part of our enterprise license. If you buy the enterprise license, then every developer would get a copy of Sencha Test. So I would say that's probably the preferred way. Certainly any traditional testing tool in JavaScript could also accomplish it, but you'd have to be a little bit more low level. You'd have to understand the div structure and, navigate from that point of view. So it really is a benefit to consider using CentraTest in that scenario.
Got it. Thank you.
Mhm.
The next question we have here, does the open tooling support multi-app workspaces yet?
Great question. So what we're referring to, let me just get there first. So one of the tools that we have available is a tool called Ext. I've mentioned it several times. Let me see if I can bring it up. Ext. There it is. So as I said, Ext is a tool in the NPM space that utilizes Sencha command under the covers to give you that additional capability with the environment, with the NPM package environment. I think the specific question was, does Ext handle multiple Sencha workspaces? I think that's the context of the question. I don't believe it does, but I probably should refer back and get some engineering support on this. I would also want to get from them maybe some context of if it does not, when would it support it. So I have not heard that being a specific feature of Ext, the multiple Sencha workspace support, but I will need to check on that just to be sure.
All right, thank you. The next question is, Sencha discontinued the JetBrains plugin like it did for Visual Studio. The latest version seems to support only older JetBrains IDEs.
I have not heard that we have overtly stopped supporting it, although it is not part of this newest release. So again, there's nothing that I've heard of, but yet, I mean, the environments of these editors is very dynamic. I know I use Visual Studio Code every day, and pretty much every month a new version comes out. Sometimes that new version has no breaking changes. Sometimes it does with the extensions. So I don't think we have overt. We have not said that we're not supporting any of the other environments. Certainly our focus is on Visual Studio Code, as obvious with Rapid Ext JS, but I don't think any overt deprecation plans or anything like that. So again, I would have to go ahead and confirm that with our engineering team.
Great, thank you. What's the future of Ext JS Classic? Is it planned to would eventually replace entirely by modern framework?
We always get this question. So for those of you who don't know, we have two toolkits within Ext JS. We have the classic toolkit, which is Ext JS from the beginning, over a decade. And then we had a product that we built called Sencha Touch, which was specifically focused on mobile devices. And I believe in the version 5 timeframe, we merged both the classic version and the Sencha Touch version and made two toolkits. So right now we have a modern toolkit, which is the evolution of Sencha Touch, and a classic toolkit, the evolution of all those years of Ext JS. And they both now support desktop. We continue to add features and enhancements to both toolkits. We continue to support both toolkits. We have no plans to deprecate. Probably people would think we would deprecate the classic toolkit. I have no plans to do that. So both will be continued to be enhanced because there are different use cases for both of them. The classic toolkit is really for people who have been using Ext JS, who are primarily building desktop applications. As I said, the modern toolkit evolved from the mobile environment, so people building mobile apps with Ext JS would tend to use the modern toolkit. It now has desktop capabilities, and so you really have a choice. You have a choice between the two, but neither is going away. Certainly the classic toolkit is not going away.
Got it. Thank you. The next question around the roadmap for 8.0, I think. Do you have any new component development or some additional features like, period date selections?
Yes, we are. We are in the planning stages now for version 8.0. That looks likely as the next release. Although there's nothing that says that there may not be an intermediary version 7 release. But we are actively planning. There are some ideas around what should be in that release. And for anybody who has some good ideas for what should be in there, especially if maybe there are new components, we have a handful of new components we're considering. This would be the time to let us know. If you're a support portal customer, you can put in a ticket and you won't be charged, any of your credits. If you want to communicate to us the enhancements, you can send that to me. You can send that to your salesperson. This is the time to do that because we are actively thinking about what should be in that new release. We certainly don't want, we want things to be backward compatible, so we're not planning on any, drastic, framework-wide changes, but we also want to be able to provide new capabilities and features. So informally, we're looking for feedback. So send it to me or others that you may know.
Awesome. So one of the feedback we just got for upcoming releases regarding the editor plugins, I would recommend implementing a language server protocol, which is part of Microsoft GitHub. This would support multiple IDEs.
Okay. All right. I think any feedback we get from people who are current customers who have found a need for certain things is very valuable. So whatever those things may be, please send them our way.
Great, thank you. What's the difference between Rapid Ext JS and VS Code plugin?
Yes, probably the biggest difference between, so as I mentioned, we now have 2 Visual Studio Code plugins. Rapid Ext JS is the name for the one, and I guess we call it the IntelliSense plugin. It's the non-visual plugin for VS Code, and the biggest difference is that Rapid Ext JS is visual. It has a visual drag and drop environment. You get a visual UI of the form that you're creating. You can drag and drop components onto it. The other component, IntelliSense component, came out several years ago. So it has more of the basic capabilities. It can help you with code completion. Some people call that IntelliSense. I call it IntelliSense. Where if you're typing out in the context of an Ext JS application, you type a dot, the properties relative to whatever you're typing will show up as a drop-down list. There are some refactoring capabilities, so you can bring refactoring to the table. You can create packages, view packages. So typically a view will have the view itself, a view controller, maybe a view model, maybe some CSS. So those 4 things can be created all in a consistent way in the same folder, same naming standards. You can generate a new project within that plugin. You can also do that with Rapid Ext JS. So there's just a set of complementary features that together really give you that extra level of productivity. And there were a few issues in them working together. Those have been resolved in this version, and so now adding those 2 and using those 2 is totally doable and just complementary to your development experience. So hopefully that helps. If you need more information, there is a documentation on that component. If you go over to, I'll just do this again. You go over to the Sencha documentation and scroll down to IDE plugins. Here is that Visual Studio Code plugin, and this will describe, how you acquire it, what it does. Here's kind of the laundry list. You can create a new project, view package creation. That was what I just talked about, where you can create a view model, view controller. And again, there's some overlap, but for the most part, this plugin is more productivity oriented, not visual drag and drop. And Rapid Ext JS is more visual. So hopefully that helps. Oh, I'm sorry, I was on the Visual Studio plugin. That was wrong. Visual Studio Code plugin is what I was really talking about. Visual Studio is Microsoft's editor. Visual Studio Code is the open source JavaScript written editor that both this component and Rapid Ext JS use. So Visual Studio Code is the one you should be looking at. Yep. Any other questions?
Okay, great. I think we have one last question for the day. I think this is related to support, right? When using NPM-based development tools from Sencha, I have to use my enterprise account to get access to whole stuff. What happens if I cancel my support contract? Will I lose my NPM Sencha account?
Okay, yep, good question. So yes, so we do have public-facing NPM components, but for certain tools, they'll be trial-based. Probably there's two good examples of that. There's the Ext JS libraries if you're building an XGen project, and if you're using React to build React projects. Again, there's a public-facing React component, but it is the trial version. The way you get your production version is you will, from your license, you will get a login, an ID and a password to log into the private Sencha NPM repo. And that Sencha NPM repo is what will be used to acquire your software. If you do lapse your support account, then that particular connection won't be available anymore. So, getting new versions is what the support account is all about. So let's say today, you have a license, you get 7.9. For whatever reason, you don't continue your support. When version 8 comes out, your license isn't active anymore. You are still totally able to use 7.9, but you cannot go back to the support portal for any access to anything that you might need. The support portal is active with a support subscription. So you're going to want to make sure you have that latest version, and that holds true for the support portal as well. So if you download 7.9 and you have the files, those files are yours, and it's a perpetual license if you bought the perpetual version, and you're not going to be able to get at 7.8. So we do feel that having support, not only are you getting the latest versions, but you have access to us in the support portal. All of that is a good reason to continue. And with our private NPM repo, that just adds another dimension of where the support, being active on support is extremely helpful to your development efforts.
Great, thank you. That wraps up our presentation for today.
All right, great. Well, we strongly encourage all of you to either go to the support portal, get the latest version, log on to the private NPM repo, get the latest version, or if you are a new customer, go to the trial. We're available for any questions. Please, note my email address. We look forward to any feedback you might have on what future things you might want to see. Again, use my email address or your salesperson if you want to do that. And we look forward to any feedback we might get from you. So thank you guys very much, and go ahead and start using 7.9.
Thank you for joining us and for your time.
Thanks, everybody.